A coffee cup on my nightstand. Not to reminisce, just a reminder to never go back to a life we shared. Anytime I'm feeling the urge to look at a picture, oh, I get so confused. Cause I swear I am so over you. My mommy told me that we shouldn't worry. Daddy told me just a good story. He said to move on and keep going. We had one more life from a shot at sunrise. Erase everything, start with new eyes. Don't break the same tragic goodbyes. What if they fly?
One, two, coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
It's January 19th, 2023, and you're listening to episode 319 of the PHPUgly podcast. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson, and every week I get together with some of my developer buddies, and we talk about our development world, what we're working on, tech, and anything else that happens to kind of come to mind. We also enjoy our Discord channel, who join us live every week at this time, Thursday night, 9:00 p.m. Pacific time, and they participate in the show. So if you want to be part of the show, you want to head over to Discord.phpugly.com. I've only been doing this for 4 or 5 years. You think I would be better at it, but surprisingly, I'm not. We would like to thank our sponsor, Honey Badger, for throwing us a few ducats for this show. We will talk about them more a little later. And as always, we'd like to thank our Patreons on Patreon, who, for unknown reasons, like to sponsor us as well, and are honestly the people you should blame for the show continuing on at this stage. With me tonight are my aforementioned development buddies, John Condon.
I have questions. Lots and lots of questions.
And Tom Rideout.
I too have questions.
Before we get into the questions, I need to apologize to everybody listening to this podcast. I am home alone today, which is a very rare thing. I have a hyper troubled dog who just is begging for my attention, playing in the office, and continuing to throw things around on the floor. So you're going to hear a lot of background noise. I almost set up a camera for her so that you guys could see her and what she's doing in my office, because she's driving me up the wall, but I didn't do it. So yeah, if you're listening to the audio podcasts, that's what the noise is in the background. And you all listening to watching the video, it's the toaster dog trying to get my attention.
I like that most of our episodes open with an apology.
It does seem to be a running theme with us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're listening to us.
It's first off, our bad. Second off, let me introduce the co-hosts.
Well, to his credit, it was the other way around this time. All right.
That's true. It did make it sound a little bit like it was our fault.
Yeah. First question. Tom, I've always known you as being a good beer drinker, usually a really good IPA. I saw you grab a Coors Light out of there. What is going on?
I was told to keep it a little bit sober for the podcast. So
You're just going with flavored water now? That's brave of you.
yeah.
Is Coors Light like a big beer there? Because isn't that like a Colorado thing? Isn't it the Rocky Mountains? Is that their IPA out there?
It's
Coors Light?
They're the crystal clear Pepsi of beers. We wanted to get sponsored by Coors Light, didn't we?
We'll take it from anybody at this
sorry,
point.
Coors Light is cold as the Rockies. That's
Do the cans
also
still
not
change
true.
color?
It is cold. Yeah, the cans still change color. It is also colder outside than this beer is. So, also not true. But if I'm going to keep myself a bit together after missing an episode for being, we'll call it overwhelmed, then yeah, Coors Light's the beverage of choice for tonight.
Do you want to talk about the overwhelmedness?
Sure.
So what was going on?
I mean, how's my week? I have purchased a house.
Congratulations.
I mean, yeah,
It is-
congratulations. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
It is an unpleasant process.
Not fun at all.
And I also released a 3-month project last week, which it had a relatively smooth launch, but with a fair number of bugs that needed to be addressed at all hours of the night. And when you work on something for 3 months and then release it and then have 25,000 users come in, it causes an amount of stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so thankfully, my friends here on the podcast were understanding of that stress, and I was granted the ability to continue drinking into the night. It's rough. I mean, the whole project went very smoothly. to the point where the project manager said, "Hey, this seems like it's going too smoothly. Are you just not talking to me? Is that what's happening?" But the release day, there's always going to be something.
Right.
We had CSV uploads that had extra lines in them or invalid email characters. We had things that we just hadn't accounted for at all, multiple users simultaneously interacting with the same database objects. So there's just stuff that experience can teach you to plan for, but you can never really plan for.
Mm-hmm. A lot of those edge cases are your users using the system differently than you kind of planned on.
Yeah, told them explicitly not to. Like, please don't do this is an instruction on how to do things you don't want them to do. So there was a lot of stress, but...
Was it really an all-nighter where you had to fix bugs all night?
A couple nights that week, yeah.
Oof.
Like I said, I believe we onboarded 150,000 users in a period of 3 days. So it had its moments.
So I want to
it's
get
all
back
good
to the
now?
house.
Yeah, we'll do that, but
It's fine. He's here. He's sober.
he
so
made it
it's
through.
Fine. Yeah. We'll get back to the house. What's the story there? What are you moving?
So we close on the 27th. My birthday is on the 29th, and nobody expects to hear from me until the 2nd or 3rd of February.
You close on the 27th?
Yeah.
In like a little over a week? Like a
Yeah.
week and a day?
Yeah.
That's a very fast. Well, when we had talked 2 weeks ago, you had just done the inspection, right?
Right. So that included like repair to the sewer line, repair to the furnace system, the radon mitigation system.
But you were already under contract at that point.
I guess. I mean, like this idea of being under contract did not get well explained to me.
Did you write a check?
Apparently, I'm an adult and was supposed to know.
Did you write a check to seal the deal? Like, as long as nothing happened,
yeah.
Okay, then you were under contract.
Well, but I was told, like, hey, sometimes they just don't even cash the check.
What? I don't think that's the thing. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Well, congratulations. I'm
Thank you.
excited and terrified for you, I tell you.
The first thing we're doing is remodeling the house, which I think I've been told is not a good sign that you've bought the right house, that the first thing you're doing is doing remodels, but no, it's going to work out. It's a great place. It fits the whole family, which I was against initially, but I'm on board with for the time being.
Well, that's fantastic, man. Happy for you.
Oh, also, there's been a lot of complaints about my audio having a lot of breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have socked my microphone.
You got a condom for your mic? That's you're a little low now. I wasn't going to call it out, but
it's just a sock. We'll see how it works out.
Okay.
If long term this fixes issues, then I'll get an actual like wind sock. But the big thing about this house, I have an office.
You enjoy my office.
And boy, there are going to be weekly treats for the viewers as I slowly build my server rack behind me and my cats learn how to harass me in my new office.
What in the world do you need a server rack in your home for anymore?
That is not your business.
I am very curious about that. I mean, back in the day, like late 90s, I could understand that, but nowadays, why?
I actually had a server rack in one of my houses.
Yeah. I had was it a quarter rack? Half rack? I had a small one.
My oldest son, is signing up for business school. He's going to college. We're very proud of him. And my wife was asking me what the last 4 digits of my credit card number were because she was going to buy him a book for his class that was only $180. And I screamed like I have never screamed before. You are not buying a college textbook. It was loose leaf. It was just a printed version of the book. And it was a rental. He had to return the loose leaf pages so that they could destroy them. No.
So you found the PDF? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying piracy requires a certain amount of rack space and prestige. It's mostly the prestige. I have been looking at the most blinky rack components you can get.
So it's just a faceplate with a bunch of blinky lights that don't do anything?
Yeah. Mostly.
Okay.
Just right behind me so that everyone can see, yes, my GitHub activity log is not fantastic, but at least I have a rack in my office. How about you, John? How was your week?
Good and bad, I guess. Stressful. Got to fly yesterday, which, is far and few between with all these storms that have been going on. And was hoping for much better. Did 3 flights, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And was like, can I please stay in the air for more than 5 minutes? I am now officially 108 flights in, and I'm only at less than 14 hours. That's frustrating. So that was the good part. Still having random issues with like databases, and yesterday, just before 5, when I'm getting ready to walk out the door, we used OpenFire as a Jabber server or XMPP server that all of a sudden just decided to stop working. And it was an easy fix, restart Jabber or OpenFire, except for the fact that doing a restart would not work. And we're sitting there like trying different things. Doing a stop, then a start worked. Frustrating.
That is a Linux problem I haven't heard.
It's been a long time. This OpenFire is probably 20 years old at this point. I've been doing daily stand-ups starting this year. The teams at Foamer were, they're up to like 10, 15 developers, and they split up into 3 different teams, which this is my first time in a like multi-team environment like that. Even in Diego Dev, now PHP architect officially, which is exciting. That's a whole nother story. We've always been a cohesive team working together. So this is the first time in this kind of situation, and doing the daily stand-up at 8 a.m. While it's good in the motivation of I need to get in and really get going right at 8, there's the downsides of I'm in the middle of walking my kids to school and like, all right, I got to turn now and get back. I can't make it all the way to school with you. So it's different. Been a different year. But like I said, officially as of just a couple days ago, PHP Architect, all of our employees are PHP Architect employees. Super excited about that.
Proud of that. I'm so excited.
I don't know that I understand the business behind that.
What do you mean?
Can't you just say, like, yeah, you're all these guys now?
It's more of where is the money coming from? Where's the money coming to from the clients? The actual paycheck to the employees is coming from PHP Architect now, not from Diego Dev.
See, I think I feel the way about that, the way that Eric feels about project management, which is like, oh God, I don't want to know. Please stop talking.
it's been a pain in the ass. Like the amount of work I've had to do to push this over the finish line, the constant contact with the payroll company and all the benefits and providers. It's
And
a ton of work. So I'm excited that it's done.
let's be clear, it was all John. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. John really kind of took the helm on that, and I might have been pestering him a little bit about getting it done, but he was the one
Like
reaching
all I could
out.
say was, I'm sorry. Like, there's nothing I can do at this point.
Yeah.
I-
So
I don't mean to sound condescending, but with my teenagers, that's exactly how I describe doing the dishes at dinner, where I'm like, listen, I'm glad we're all here and we've all got clean dishes. We couldn't have gotten here without Milo's effort. He woke up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get this done. And I'm very proud of him.
All right, Eric, your week. Somebody in Discord just reminded me of part of both of our weeks, so that will come in handy after
Well,
we talk about your week.
if you're looking at the Trello board, everything is queued up, so don't jump ahead too quickly. My week has been somewhat of a blur. We are official empty nesters here at the I can't say where I live, can I? At the new house. We're official empty nesters. We moved to this larger home, like the largest house we've lived in since we've been a family. The largest house I've ever lived in. I've never lived in a house as big as this one. But we did it specifically so that everybody could have space. Everybody was adults by that time. Everyone was kind of getting on each other's nerves on top of each other in their other house. So we come here and we get into this big house, and almost immediately one of the kids moves up to San Francisco. So okay, whatever. They were twins. We have one of the twins. It's pretty much the same thing. We never saw them.
They were twins. What kind of twins would do the same thing at the same time?
Right. Well, I mean, you never saw them at the same place at the same time very often. So mentally, you could still think.
Okay, so are you sure that they're twins?
What was it?
Is this not a Tyler Durden situation?
No, it's not a Jeffrey Wade Taylor thing. We definitely have two kids. Anyways, the other one has decided to move out. So I support it. I might have been egging them on a little bit, like, hey, you're 25. You know everything I accomplished by the time I was 25? Moving out of my parents' house was one of them. But we are empty nesters, and I helped them move a good chunk of their stuff yesterday, and then the wife kind of finished it up today, and the wife has not returned home. And I don't think she's returning home. I think this was all a ploy to leave me alone with a maniac dog. I think that's what's happened here. Yeah. So yeah, the kid is back down in San Diego. Nice little place. I got to see it yesterday, and it seems happy. So it was actually, they moved pretty much across the street from where we were having our meetups, John, before the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
So they're right in that area right there, and it's hard to explain if you're not from San Diego, but there's this trolley system that's the closest thing they have to a subway, and they just put in a trolley station like really close to where they're living. I think they could actually walk to it, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy for it.
What brought them back to San Diego? Just wanting to get out of the house? You egging them on to get out?
Again, adults, they were ready to start their life, to stop being so dependent on us. But the fact that when they started working, this is the one that's becoming a nurse. They got a job in San Diego. So we don't live in San Diego anymore, and it's a solid 40 minutes to an hour drive where they're working at now. Now, I say that, and where they live in San Diego, it's still probably going to be a 40-minute to an hour drive to work. It's just going to be a lot more traffic. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was a little bit of wanting to be closer. They're also coaching high school water polo, so they had to be there late at night sometimes, and it's just easier for them to stay down there. And I support it. I mean, they needed to get on with their life and move out of the house. The wife doesn't agree with me so much, and I can appreciate that. The wife is very upset that I allowed it to happen, I think, but I think it's
Allowed it
best
to
for everybody.
happen.
What's that, Tom?
I'm allowed it to happen.
Like you had a choice.
Yeah, I would call out the core tenets of being a male feminist, which is I do not tell women what to do.
That's probably smart, especially a man in your position. You should just be grateful that they pay you any attention.
Yes, a man in my position, which is a man buying the biggest house he's ever lived in so that he can house his children who are destined to soon move out.
That's right.
Very.
All right. So
sounds like something you just did.
It is precisely what I just did.
They'll all leave you now, Tom. All of them.
I mean, if that's what it costs, that's what it costs.
I would have bought a house sooner, damn it.
Okay, so John was ready to jump into it. Oh, did you have something else, John?
I just wanted to go back. One more thing, just because we didn't really do much coding in our weeks. Well, Tom did a little bit. I finally got code I've been working on. Geez, it feels like it's been 2-3 months now, which is annoying. And now doing these daily stand-ups for the whole week, it's been like, nope, I didn't work on that. I'm going to work on it today. Something else comes up. Nope, didn't work on that. Good work on that today. Finally got around to putting it to bed the other day. Code got the PR out for review, and that is just a load off my shoulders. It's event sourcing code, and the frustrating part was I spent a good 2 months like getting it to the point I had it at, and then only to find out that somebody had done work on the existing system that I then had to backport into. Is it really backporting, or is it foreporting, bringing it forward?
So,
refactoring to the new code base. Let's leave it at that.
a rebase is technically a foreport.
Well, it's not a rebase because I wasn't refactoring the old code. I took the old code, left it there, and then wrote brand new event source code to do basically the same thing. And then somebody added functionality to the old code.
So it's like
it's
tape
done.
porting.
Yeah. It was annoying, but it's done. I can move on with my life finally.
To taint the head, taint the feature branch.
All right, Eric. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in Discord has already made reference to it, but John and I have officially relaunched the PHP podcast, and we have kind of a new format to it, and people seem to be liking it. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I need to get it out onto the mailing list, to get more feedback on it. But I enjoyed it. I like the format. I like that it's a shorter podcast, where we run usually an hour plus. We're going to try and keep this one under 30 minutes. It's fun. I like it.
I was going to say, for those of us who don't listen to our friends' podcasts or even their own podcast, what is the new format?
So in the past, we took the month's magazine and literally went article by article, and Eric and I would just discuss the article in depth. We'd get to some that we had more experience with, so we would have personal conversations around it. But it really was just up next, we'd have this article, and up next, we have that article. And it was very...
The idea behind it, if I can cut you off really quick, the idea behind it, we didn't just do that because we wanted to do it. The idea was, if you didn't subscribe to the magazine, maybe you would hear some of the articles that were being released and be interested, because you can buy individual copies. Maybe you'd realize, hey, this is one that I would be interested in. And of course, ideally, you do that a couple times and realize it would just be cheaper if I had a year subscription. But that was the kind of thought process behind it.
Yeah. The new format is it's kind of like this, but a little more PHP architect focus, where we really focus on the business, what we're doing with it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot about tech. There's going to be a lot about the magazine. Just like this one, there's a lot of apologizing, because that's what I did.
Just right off the bat.
That's what I did on the very first one. Was I have to apologize.
That's the next podcast we launch is just going to be the apologies from all the other podcasts we do, condensed into like a compilation.
Well, the funny thing is, you said that about this podcast. Our very first of the relaunch was an apology. The very first thing on the board for the next one is another apology.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I got to look at the. I need to look at the call sheet, man. But John isn't even getting into some of the nuts and bolts of it. We are. It's now also a video podcast, whereas before it was just an audio podcast. And then I would take the audio podcast and I would make a YouTube video from it, but it wasn't really us. And I think next release, I guess, next episode, we will maybe do it live, because it flowed really well. It seemed like it was pretty easy. So I think I know we're going to eventually go live, and I think we're probably ready to go live starting with the next show.
Yeah, it's definitely not overly produced or edited, just like this one. It's us. We are who we are. We say things that we probably shouldn't.
Right. And I'm hoping, like I think I tweeted about today, where it's like a little inside baseball. I'm hoping people enjoy that. John and I discussing some of the challenges, some of the things we're planning on, some things we're working towards. Obviously, we talk about tech a lot. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm liking it. So if you haven't subscribed yet, head over to youtube.com/PHPArch. That's PHPARCH, and subscribe. And yeah, watch for the podcast to come out. It is good stuff.
And look, it's versioned.
It is Simver. It's Simver version.
Oh, don't do this. Coors Light can't stop me when it comes to that. Now, I noticed the YouTube channel is using a new logo here.
Did you notice that? What new logo? What new logo are you talking about?
Really? An obviously male elephant, but you appear to have omitted the giant elephant penis.
What? What?
He's got the tusks.
Yes.
But
Yes. One of the things we did.
There's no large elephant penis.
we added a little something to the logo. And John really boosted my ego with this, because we have I guess you'd call it like a marketing service that we work with. Because I had done this, because I had done a logo like this because I wanted to see what it looked like on a t-shirt, and I had ordered some t-shirts to test it out. And when we started having a conversation about it, I'm like, well, do we want to look at modifying the logo? Because John brought up the point, which we are already aware of, that the logo is just that pyramid looking A, which a lot of places use, including one of our sponsors in the magazine at one time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who never uses a certain element in their logo? Giant elephant penis.
I think you're drinking a lot of Coors Lights. Anyways, John really boosted my ego because we reached out to this marketing service that we use. I'm like, hey, we want to change the logo. It can be like a small change. The elephant is the PHP mascot, and kind of going on and on about it. And they were sending us all these kind of ideas, and I'm like, I don't like any of these. And John's like, yeah, really, I just kind of want to go with what you had, and let's just go with that.
It's what I wanted from the beginning. I was like, I like that. Let's like riff on it, and we changed it a little bit, made the elephant bigger than what you had in your first example. But yeah, the stuff they came up with was not good.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel good about it. I'm like, hey man, I made something. So I was happy. I like it.
I feel like when you guys make a logo change like this, though, you're talking about stickers and like you're talking about a lot of money getting sunk into it, because you're going to have stickers for PHP Tech, right?
Of course.
So
you act like stickers are super duper expensive. I mean, they're not that much.
As a matter of fact,
compared to the rest of the conference, stickers are relatively.
We were holding off on some marketing material because John was like, I don't want to invest in that now. Let's settle on the logo before we start doing this other stuff. And yeah, so stickers, I'm not worried about stickers. I actually need to order some. We don't have the new PHPUgly logo as a sticker, which we need to have before we go to Tech. So yeah, there's that. And how long we've had this new logo for a while?
Yeah, almost a year.
So it's probably time to get stickers for it. We have a user group. We can pass them out at now.
But
yeah,
what if there's some kind of problem when you're generating stickers online? How would you even know that happened?
We don't have to buy into his stuff, John. What, did you have something else you wanted to say about the stickers?
No.
This is the second time he's made that swing. Like,
he's trying to crowbar it in.
He's trying to get to his.
I'm trying to help.
Okay, all right. Where are we at? Let me. What Tom is trying to do is transition us to our sponsor. So let me pull that up and let's thank our sponsor.
Just because Mr. I Hate Project Management says follow the Trello board. Don't diverge from.
Let's thank our sponsor, Honey Badger.
When you're in production, 1,000 things can go wrong. You could deploy a bug in your latest release. Your background jobs can silently fail. Someone could trip over the network cable at your data center, and this all comes back to you. You need to know when bad things happen and be able to respond to them quickly. That's why we built Honeybadger. It's easy to install Honeybadger in your back-end applications and front-end JavaScript. It only takes a few minutes of configuration and you'll have monitoring done. That's because we hook into popular web frameworks, job systems, and the browser, so that when any of them crash, we can automatically let you know. We ping your application from our global fleet of servers to let you know about problems with connectivity, latency, and SSL certificates, and we monitor your recurring jobs to see if any of them stop recurring. When there's a problem, we alert your team using the tools you already use. We can create issues in GitHub, Jira, and other issue trackers, and send notifications via Slack, PagerDuty, or other channels. When you click through, you'll be taken to detailed information on the error. You'll see things like request parameters, headers, user information, and the backtrace. Click on any line of the backtrace to view it in GitHub, Bitbucket, or your local editor. When you fix a problem, just mark it resolved and follow up with the affected user. That's Honeybadger. We're the monitoring tool for web developers who'd rather be, well, developing.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Thanks, Honey Badger. I'm on board.
You had that whole commercial.
Just not on
thing.
time.
Did you say something, Tom? Oh man, your video is way off for me. I don't know if it's like that for John, but in OBS you're like way off. It's weird.
Yeah, everyone's off in OBS. You can't use OBS. You have to use the.
No,
feed from Ninja.
it syncs up fine when John's talking. Now you're back in sync. Don't tell me, man. Don't tell me.
Hey man, I'm getting fiber soon at my new house.
Love the fiber. Oh my god, I love the fiber. So nice. John, do you have fiber?
I do not. But we have a good topic to talk about before you jump into what you were going to do next.
Okay.
Lazy Me 114 in Discord says, I've been programming for 5 years in PHP. I know Laravel and made some projects in it, but I don't know TDD and any design principles. Is it necessary to know these things to be a better developer? If yes, then how or where can I learn these techniques?
The key word there is better developer, right? So with that, carry on, John.
I feel like they were just teeing that one up.
Have you heard the good word of PHP architect?
Yeah. So TDD is wonderful once you get your head wrapped around it and you actually practice it. It's not something you're going to pick up and start doing right away. It takes a long time to get into your workflow. Design principles, design patterns, priceless when you start learning different ways to do things. I'm still looking back at code I wrote just a few years ago and hating so much of it. And again, going back on the apology tour, apologizing for it all the time because it is horrendous compared to using good design patterns. Did it work? Yes.
You say a few years ago, I can go back a couple days.
That's true.
When you're really in the learning mindset, every hour is like a complete refactor of everything you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I've when I was doing SDPHP, we would have these meetups where I would leave it just grossly disappointed in myself for not having done it earlier. And I would spend a weekend completely refactoring something I thought I had nailed.
Mm-hmm.
Like being a better developer is a very open-ended way of asking the question.
But being a better developer, it's a lifelong learning thing. You should always be learning how to be better. You're never going to be the best, right?
I
you
can
always
inject
improve.
a little bit here. Is it okay if I inject a little bit?
Please do.
Lazy Me 114. I guess the first question is, do you develop professionally? Are you a professional PHP developer or Laravel developer? If the answer is no, my advice to you is just keep enjoying coding. Yes, you can learn these things, but don't stress yourself out over it. Just enjoy coding. If you're a professional developer and you are a PHP developer by trade today, learning design patterns is such a valuable thing to have in your back pocket because it will translate from programming language to programming language. It's not a one-for-one translation, but if you understand domain-driven design, then you can kind of learn how to apply it to PHP. You learn how to apply it to Rust or whatever you move on to. That is huge. To John's point, test-driven development, it's kind of one of those secret sauce things that really good developers can do. And it's a commitment to understand how to do it. And there's arguments of whether or not it's even worth understanding, but it's definitely that leveling up that you'll want to do if you want to continue to be a professional developer. I'm not saying you can't learn it if you're not a professional developer. I'm just saying don't stress about it. If you're a hobbyist, you're just coding for the fun of it, just keep enjoying coding. And along that same line, if you're a hobbyist don't be shy about going to user groups or, I don't know, PHP conferences that might be coming around, because you don't have to be a professional developer. If you really enjoy it, if this is something that's fun to you, surround yourself by other people that is fun with, including professionals, and just enjoy it. So I don't know what your story is, Lazy. Just have a good time. Learning is always fun. I would never discourage you from learning, but make sure you enjoy it first.
They are a professional developer.
I can one up that and say that
I take back everything I just said. Learn it.
if you're a professional developer and you've been doing it for 5 years, that doesn't mean that you're going to be a professional developer in 15 years or 10 years. You might end up doing SDET testing. You might end up being a project manager. You might end up being an architect. And as an architect, understanding these design patterns, which are universal to all programming, can be everything you need to know. If I was going to go into a Java shop as a project manager, I could know zero Java and go in as a project manager, because I could say, well, I understand how this pattern works. I understand how object-oriented stuff interacts with itself, and I can understand how TDD is a design pattern that you would want to use for making sure this thing works. So these are all skill sets that are not just programmer specific, but overall, global knowledge space stuff.
Right. And you say you're a professional developer, so obviously you don't need to know this stuff to be a professional developer. But if you want to kind of keep advancing in this field and keep growing in this field, yeah, you probably design patterns and you learn it. I mean, just hanging around. Once again, I don't know your specific situation. If you're part of a big shop, if you're a one-man show, if you're a one-man show, it can be really difficult to surround yourself with other developers who are doing other things. But that exposure is, you'll just start to pick this stuff up. But yeah, definitely go out there and learn it. I would strongly recommend that. It's well worth it. It helps.
And
It helps if you like it.
a little more abstract from that is that if you ever have the question, do I need to know this programming thing to be a better programmer? The answer is yes. Because knowing things always makes you a better programmer.
Yeah, it's that whole kind of like I'd rather know it and not need it than need it and not know it sort of situation. I'm fine having junk information in my head that I'll never apply somewhere, but it bothers me when I'm faced with something that I don't know how to do.
Yeah, and even if it's something you don't like, if you do TDD and learn it and don't like it, in a professional setting, when someone says, hey, we're thinking about doing TDD, you need to have your voice. So even if it's something you don't want to do, being able to voice why you don't like it is
Right.
just as valid a reason. At least
That's a great point, Tom.
Big data was a huge thing for a while. Crypto is the current big thing, and you'll have executives come up to you and say, hey, we want to do big data. We want to do crypto and blockchain stuff. And if you don't understand it and know it, you can't explain to them why we can't do that or shouldn't do it or it's a terrible idea. So just knowing that you don't like it is a good enough reason to learn it.
Well said.
Well said.
But user group and conferences are a great way to learn things that you don't even know you need to know.
And magazines.
Exactly. Especially if you're a professional developer, there is absolutely no excuse for you not to go to tech happening in May 16th through the 18th. What are we doing? What are we looking
Come
at?
on, I won't zoom. Yeah,
I say it doesn't have
autofocus, but it does say the magazine for PHP professionals.
That's right. Yeah, I got mine in.
I forgot about
get on board. Get on board.
Forgot about the whole
with that.
autofocus thing.
Well,
Difference.
Tom slipped away, and I actually wanted him to be part of this next conversation. So I wonder if we can
He'll
kind
be
of.
back in 2 seconds, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is there something else we can talk about while he's gone?
I got a question for you. Well,
You know
before
me.
we go back to Huddles versus Zoom, what are your thoughts? Do you have opinions on those two different things?
I do. For me personally,
Mhm.
I do a lot of screen sharing and Huddles on my Linux machine just goes wonky on me. Every time I
Does
try
it
to do
really?
screen sharing, yeah, it's just not as pleasant of an experience as Zoom is. And yeah, I prefer Zooms, even though it's a little bit more to kind of the huddles are nice, and if all I'm doing is an audio meeting, or if somebody else is sharing their screen, a lot of times I will default to the huddle. But if I think I'm going to be sharing something, or if it's going to be a long meeting, I will Zoom it, because if you huddle in a channel, it's that you've basically you're using the huddle for that entire channel. So you have to go off and create these side rooms, which why do that, right?
Mhm.
So I kind of like Zooms personally, but I have no problems with huddle. It's what the interesting thing is, and we're talking about Slack. If you don't know, Slack and Zoom. Slack has this concept of a huddle, which is basically everybody can kind of do audio and share video and share screens and that sort of thing. Kind of the same thing Zoom is. The interesting thing is, before huddles, Slack had the ability to call. I think they even called it calling, and you
Right.
would call and start up these meetings. And we have a client that refuses to use huddle and will only use call. And they know that I think the end of this month, that call ability is going away. Slack is going to remove it. And I'm just kind of like, why don't you start using huddle? Like, why are you not using huddle now? Just use it. And they keep using the call. They're like, nope. They pry it from my cold dead hands. Like,
I
I
think
hope
that
it doesn't get to that.
they like the ringing, I think. That whole
Yeah.
concept.
Yes,
The other
I'm a
thing,
Zoom guy.
I prefer Zoom for a handful of reasons. One being uh, recording. You can't record huddles yet.
That's a great
And
point.
I do like recording meetings, especially when decisions are being made and you would like to have some sort of record of that happening. I haven't had the screen sharing thing, but I also haven't shared my screen a lot in huddles. I use them for the stand up now, so it's very short period of time I'm in a huddle. But the other thing is, the screen share is just another participant in the huddle. So you have to zoom in on that one person's on the screen
Uh,
share, and
yeah.
I think you can still see everybody else, but it's minimized versus Zoom, where I could have the screen share like full screen, and then I can move all the participants off to the other monitor, and I can kind of see everything going on.
Yeah, and if you really want to get into it, um, from an organizer's perspective, I think Zoom also gives you a lot more control over. Okay, now they're presenting. This person can't talk. Mute this person. You have a lot more control over your meeting in Zoom than you do in Huddle, because there's no host in Huddle. Everybody is
Mm,
kind of equal.
right. Makes sense.
I will say that when I'm talking to people that I don't talk to on a daily basis, or if it's a formal meeting, we use Zoom. But if it's an informal, like, hey, explain how this shit works, then we use huddles. It's like, hey, me and you, we're going to talk. It's going to be back and forth. It's not going to be 8 people. The huddle is like, it's impersonal. Not impersonal. It's casual.
That's a good one.
And I think the fact that you can't record a huddle, is part of that. Like, yeah, this is just between me and you. This is not. There's no managers here or bosses here. It's not on the calendar. Because everything I do with Zoom is calendar driven.
Oh, that's another good point,
And
right? You can't schedule a Huddle.
right.
Yeah. That's a good point.
The way I use it is a huddle is like walking over to another programmer's desk and saying like, "Hey, no, I'll walk you through this. This is easy." And huddles are calendar aware if you have things set up correctly. So if I'm in a meeting, the huddle will say this person's in a meeting and probably can't join.
Right. And another aspect that I think we need to consider, John, specifically kind of who we are, we will often engage with people outside of the company, and that just huddle just doesn't work there.
That's true. I like huddles only when I'm by myself. Jump into a huddle by myself and you get the nice tranquil music.
You get the on call, the on hold music.
You get there's nobody else here. Just relax.
That is a thing, isn't it?
It
All
is.
right, Tom, we were buying time for you to return because I wanted to make sure you're a part of this next topic. Something came across my wire this week, and I'm curious. First, what are your opinions of it? And Tom, I think you touched on a similar service in the past, but the one I'm talking about today is called laraCheck, which is this auto pull request review service. I'm not sure if it's using AI or if it's just doing like a PHP stand, or I guess it would be a Lara stand against your PR. But this is one of those, and I don't care to get into the details. I really don't. laraCheck is a PR review service specifically for Laravel. That is a key component in this conversation. This one is designed because it understands Laravel's patterns and how Laravel works, so it can kind of do more in-depth sort of review.
Which makes me laugh.
My first question is this is out to both of you. How do you feel about this? Like, do you feel this is worth doing, or should everybody just be using something like a static code analyzer like PHP Stand?
It's complicated in the sense that it is complicated. Setting up PHP Stand or Lara Stand is difficult. You have to set these things called baselines where it's like, yes, I know this is an issue and I'm ignoring it. And setting up baselines for PHP Stand is currently a massive pain in the ass. And I would bet you that what this service is providing is just a better interface to managing baselines for PHP Stand, as well as integrating the rules for Lara Stand, which, you know, one of the big advertisements here is N+1 detection, which is like the reason Lara Stand exists is to understand eloquent and N+1 stuff. Missing eager load in resources is N+1 detection. Those first two arguments are the same thing. That's how you do.
I thought the missing env variables, as silly as it sounds, can actually be really beneficial because you don't commit your actual env file, or most of the time you don't commit your actual env file to your repo. So people will add these features and add these variables in their .env file and then forget to like update the sample or to forget to let the team know, hey, by the way, you have to add this new AWS variable that I created to your .env. I think that actually has a lot of value, at least to me.
How would that one work unless you give your CI environment access to your production env, which you're not supposed to do?
No, you give a .env .example.
That doesn't mean that it's going to work in production if you don't get it in there. So it's kind of
no. I mean, all it would do would scan your. Oh, I see what you're saying. It wouldn't know what's in your .env file. I was about to say it's easy for it to determine what should be in your env file.
Right, but it's not checking your production one. Yeah.
My guess is that they give a quick bash script for your pipeline to make sure that your env matches your example env.
Yeah, I was about to say I think what they probably do is they enforce you to add everything to your example.env. I don't think there's any like magic behind it. It just says, hey, here are all their environmental variables in their code. Here's everybody in their here's everything in their example file. If something's missing, throw up a red flag.
Yeah, and then missing database indices. Obviously, they're comparing your migrations against your relationships in your models. Not hard to do. Incorrect dependencies, that's part of PHP stan. Missing foreign keys is the same thing as database indices. I don't know why it's there twice.
But we keep saying that it's like PHP stan or Larastan, but there are so many CI tools out there that help automate, like running PHP unit or running your PHP CS. It's like they just built an interface to make it easy and automatic versus you having to set up your own pipeline, your own GitHub action, your own Jenkins build, whatever it is to run these things. It's just hey, we'll do this for you.
That goes towards what Eric was saying, which is that a company I worked for previously did pay a lot of money for this service that was essentially somebody quickly reviewing every PR for the PHP stan errors that it threw and making a human readable comment saying this thing is missing this. And it was something like $45 per user per month. It was a lot.
I was actually going to get to that. The pricing of this seems very reasonable to me.
So $9 a month, billed annually, 25 repositories,
unlimited checks, unlimited users.
I mean, but see, I feel like this is a GitHub action that's being sold, which I'm not against. I'm not against in any way somebody creating a great GitHub action and selling it to you for $9 a month. I just kind of wish it were more of a transparent, like if there was in GitHub Actions marketplace or something like that. Because like I said, missing eager loads and N+1 are the same thing. Missing indices and missing foreign keys are the same thing. It's selling itself as having 9 features on its homepage when in reality it has 6 or 5. And if you know, I'm sure it's got some custom coding behind it that actually executes, more human readable stuff. But it's a SaaS product, and SaaS products are covering things you could do yourself but don't want to. That's what they are.
Exactly. And I didn't have any issue with it. I would be curious, I think, to try it, but I was just wondering if you two had any issues or thoughts on it. We should probably move on.
I checked out the roadmap. They have a roadmap link. I recommend looking at that because
where is that?
So on the homepage, in their top nav, they've got pricing, product features, roadmap.
Gotcha.
And the roadmap has
nothing
one
left.
item.
Do you see what this is, John?
Yeah.
It's Notion.
It's Notion. Matter of fact, this over here is also Notion. I was trying to think of a quick way to publicly share all the PHP Arch new variations of the new logo, and so I threw it in Notion. They're actually doing the same thing.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think I should be investing in Notion.
I'll tell you, Notion is really, I'm enjoying it.
We're using it more and more, that's for sure.
So what was your point about the roadmap, Tom? I cut you off, I think.
It's complete. Like if I spent an hour, I could probably add 20 items to this roadmap. The fact that it's done makes me think that they don't care about maintaining the product. They only care about adding new customers.
Wow. Some spice there.
I don't mean to be spicy.
Little shade throwing. That's what the kids are saying now. You're throwing shade. This is ballsy.
But now the question is whether or not this uses AI. And AI
Stupid.
it's real weird right now. So if you know the general industry that I work in, you know that AI is kind of like the question everyone's asking. Can AI do therapy? And the overwhelming response from the company is like, no way, never, ever, ever. People talking to people is the essential component of therapy. We are never considering AI. But somebody did and tweeted, we provided mental health support to about 4,000 people using GPT-3, and here's what happened. And I'm amazed that the tweet is still up, because what a horrible experiment to perform on users. Now, the person says that this was that users were aware of the experiment, and that ChatGPT stuff was not being provided directly to customers or as mental health. It was being provided as prompts to therapists. But it
was also being supervised by humans.
Right, but it appears that it was just a line item in an end user license agreement, and I totally get what they're going for, which is to assist the process of mental health care with AI generated prompts. But the therapists are people too, and they're tired and just copy and paste the responses. And there was no oversight as to how the input was being provided.
But did you actually read the thread where they said they pulled it from their platform pretty quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I can't imagine how it ever got on the platform in the first place, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Like, that would not be.
I think you're absolutely crazy if you think AI is not going to be a key element in future medical care around the world.
Absolutely. No, medical care, it is already in place in physical medical care. AI is better at detecting lung cancer in x-rays than doctors are. But the mental health sphere is so different than physical health. You cannot see a spot on an x-ray and say, there's the mental health, let's address it this way.
Yeah, but that's because we're so early in that field. I have no so AI can take in 100 years of mental health care to kind of start to evaluate things on, where humans are just flawed in general. We bring our own biases, we bring our own agendas to us everywhere we go, whether we're supposed to be professional or not. And you can now, there have been studies that say we as human are breeding that into AI, and that is a valid conversation to have. But my point being, I hear what you're saying, that you need that human interaction, and I don't think it should ever fully replace a person. But I definitely think it can do mental health. I have no question it can do mental health.
I definitely think it can do mental health, but one of the observations from what this group did was that clients were more satisfied with the care provided by the AI than provided by a licensed therapist. And that gets me into this whole causality versus outcome thing. People who are incredibly happy with their therapists might not be getting better. They might be happy because their therapists are validating their biases and making them feel better without actually becoming better people. And this is the big flaw of AI, is that we're measuring AI's success as customer satisfaction. Sometimes, especially in therapy, the customer needs to not be satisfied. They need to be challenged. It's
He's. I agree with that.
So the thread, the Twitter thread says, "Hey, this was a great success for us. We canceled it immediately and apologize for not being clear enough about who was receiving this treatment." Like, there's a lot of, "Hey, this worked out great for us," but then lots of apologies and explanations later. Like, that is not how you run therapy. You do not run therapy by saying, "I'm glad you feel better. By the way, you are a worse person for it."
That's fair. All right, I want to move on, but I am going to do it over our Patreon supporters, who we, as we said earlier, appreciate very much. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. The one thing I wanted to kind of move on with while this is up and running is I might be late to the party on this. This might be something that everybody already knows. And again, this falls under the whole umbrella of AI sort of thing. We use here in the house, we don't use Slack, we don't use Discord or Zoom. We use Google Chat to talk within the family. And it's kind of cool because we're all starting to use video chat now, because since everybody is not local, not in the same house anymore. But I came across something where we have like a family chat where everybody's in there, all the entire family's in the family chat. And I came into the family chat once where there's been this long conversation going on that I wasn't a part of, nor had I seen. And when I entered the chat, Google said, "Hey, here's a summary of what's been discussed while you've been gone." It gave me a summary of the conversation my wife and kids were having before I came in. Is this something you guys knew about? Were you guys aware of this?
I have not seen that.
It is the coolest thing. It was right. It was 100% right. It was a very quick summary, and I forget what the summary was, but it hit the mark on what it was.
Yeah, but what if it doesn't?
Well, and it's clearly watching the conversation. That's the thing that was freaking me out. It's like, hey, wait a minute. You're watching our conversation that closely? Like, you're tracking who's listening and what's being discussed? And I don't know. That freaked me out pretty good, but it was still very cool.
Useful. Which,
yeah.
So somebody shared this Twitter status with me, and I shared it with you. This Andy Berman from vowel.com. And it does the same thing for your meetings. But I think it's not like a plugin or something you can use within Zoom. I think vowel.com is their own meeting software like Zoom, so they're trying to compete in that space. But the whole thing is they will take your meeting and then break it down and have a summary of what the meeting was, as well as a full transcript from it.
You had shared that with me, and I thought that was super cool. Like, I didn't see anywhere where you could sign up for it. Did you see a way to sign up for this?
I have not.
I will totally want to try that. Along that same line,
it's on there, right on their website. Sign up.
We might need to sign up for this. Along the same line, we had our Zoom call this week, and John was absent. Something about being part of the family and watching the kids. I don't know. He wasn't there.
It was World Inventor Day. I had to go to school.
And it was very funny because this participant joined the meeting, which again, I don't know how it happened. I assume John had configured it, like had given it permission to join. This participant joins the meeting as John's Otter AI. And it's like, wait, what? And John signed up for this service, which I also have, and tied it into Zoom
Without realizing.
without
Click
realizing
buttons.
it. And I guess did you look at did it transcribe the whole meeting? Because it shared with me saying, hey, your transcription is ready. I'm like, well, let me take a look at this. And then I clicked on it and there was nothing there. It was just a blank page.
Can we not brush over the without realizing part? Because
Yeah, that's kind of because I went to John. I'm like, hey, this is really cool. I have that same service. I'm paying for the same service. How did you configure yours? Because I can't seem to get mine configured. John's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I clicked the buttons and it worked. So somebody shared it with me for Merge PHP. They're using it for transcriptions and stuff, and so I signed up to see what was going on there. And it's like, hey, do you want to install this in your meeting? I'm like, sure, I'll try it out. So I just sure, yes, accept. Yeah, you can have my firstborn. Go. And we're done. And I'm not paying for it. I never like signed up for
you're not
any...
paying for it?
No.
Oh,
He gave it
interesting.
access to his meetings. It
I
pays for
I-
itself.
So I'm paying for it, and I actually
Why are you paying for it?
Sucker then.
Well, let me finish explaining. I'm paying for it because of the minutes, right? We're paying for it, John. You're actually paying for half of it. You just didn't know. But I paid for it because of the minutes, and I actually pumped in, I think, 3 years of PHPUgly into that service and got all those PHPUglies transcribed. It's one of the ways I can go back and say, okay, when did we talk about Tom moving first? And I'll go back and search our archive for it. I love it, but that was like a manual process that I went through. And Derek, was it Derek? Yeah, Derek, XDebug Derek turned me on to it. He was using it to transcribe his podcasts. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool, and it was pretty accurate. And he's like, yeah, I do a lot of stuff in post, but it does a pretty good job. And I'm like, yeah, let me give that a look. So yeah, I signed up for it, and I've had it for a few years, and I just keep pumping in. Now, the workflow I have now for the podcast, I actually use I think a Google service that does it, and it doesn't do it nearly as well as Otter did. Like Otter will learn voices, so it knows my voice, John's voice, Tom's voice, and as I feed in additional shows, it'll just automatically start breaking things down. The one I'm using with Google, the API I'm using with Google, just transcribes everything that's being spoken, but you don't know who's speaking it.
Fascinating. So why'd you switch to the Google one?
I was able to tie it into the another service we use, or I use, to do a lot of the podcast cleanup, like normalizing the sounds and trying to remove some of the static. It just had this. It said, "Hey, do you want to transcribe your podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." We had like 3 or 4 services, and the only one the one that looked familiar was Google. I go back every now and then and see if by chance they'll add Otter, but they hadn't the last time I checked. All right. So
I think that's we are running long on time here.
we are running long. I since this is the apology show, I need to apologize to John. John had queued up a Trello card of that last story, and I had, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I thought I moved that over. I thought it was Tom's card, and I had moved it over again. So I skipped right over it. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to skip over you there, John.
No, it's fine. It's all good.
All right. So, like I said, this year, trying to end on positivity and good vibes. So we're going to wrap up the show. But let me just say, it's very easy to be hateful, to talk down to people who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who don't have the same beliefs that you have. It's up to you to be the better person not to do that. It's not even this whole putting yourself on a pedestal because you're above people. Just be a good human being. Just be a good person. And I have been very fortunate in my life where, because of the way I was raised, because of my parents, because of my environment I was raised in, I've always been very open-minded with the people I interact with. I don't have to believe what you believe. We can not agree on things. It's fine. Because of that, I've been able to experience a lot of culture, a lot of good food, a lot of great stories, a lot of history. And that has done nothing but made me a better person. We are in this age where it seems like the world is like polarized. You're either all the way on one side or you're all the way on another side. And it doesn't have to be like that. It's not meant to be like that. And I'm not just talking about the US. I'm talking about the world. We're not meant to be like two magnets that can't be pushed together. We're meant to find a common ground. And that's all I'm saying. Is if you're having trouble dealing with a person or dealing with a topic, don't dig in so deep. Look for a common ground. It makes everything better for everyone, and the world becomes a better place because of it and because of you. So that's my little speech for this week. I appreciate everybody watching episode 319 of PHPUgly. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Oh, I forgot to add time
Y'all
back to
know
the
how we do.
outro.
Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the
Boom,
host
there you
named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the
can
host
make
name
noise
Thomas,
now.
cause he's never
The show's
wrong.
over.
Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet.
Oh, I
Unlike
stopped
my
recording too
freestyles,
soon.
which
Could've got that
cause
in
a
there.
riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people
That
love
would've
me.
been a good way to
Shouts
end it.
out to PHP, the ugly. It's called
That's fine.
ugly cause it's not professional. But I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting. I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called
So can you go and
Doom
download
from
now
Thomas.
from Zencaster, or do I need to download and give them to you?
I get the mic and
Actually,
then I'm about to
Zencaster's
keep it like a
tied into my
promise.
Dropbox,
Yeah, and
so it's
y'all know
already
we
there.
fill 'em up with anguish. We talking about the
Yeah.
PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications.
Lost,
Okay,
lost
I can
Tom
dig
again.
it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my
guess I shouldn't
lyrics
say
are
anything
major.
yet.
All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
That's good.
Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole squad, man. Hope your channel is doing real well on YouTube. Hope you guys are having fun. And it was an honor and blessing to do this little custom freestyle for y'all. Hope you enjoy. Stay up. Yeah. Come on. Hey.
I'd totally go see him again. I might have to go down to the House of Blues, and I think it's next month actually. I don't know. Maybe I get too much going on. Yeah, I looked at it earlier. I like Harry Mack. It's a cool show. Tom, I'm super excited for you, man.
I forgot how cheap beer gives me the hiccups.
Yeah, you think you know what stress was. Wait till you own a house and you hear a weird noise. You're really gonna appreciate what stress is.
Wait till you have a rainstorm, and then you walk by your wife's side of the bed and the carpet's wet.
Did you have that happen?
Yeah. And so I get down, I'm like, it was like there were just 3 spots on the carpet that were wet. I'm like, this is weird. So I start feeling all around, and there's nothing between the door and the spot. And then over the next 24 hours, because it was storming so bad, it's like soaked right there. But again, all around it, nothing. So I feel like it has to be coming up through the foundation.
Yeah,
we
we
inspected the
had that
house.
problem at our other house. As a matter of fact, we fully disclosed that to the people buying it. It was like, hey, this happens when it rains hard.
So
Go
we
ahead, Tom.
inspected during a snowstorm.
Yeah, it does. Trust me. Listen, I don't want to discourage you. Owning a house, it can be very satisfying, but
Everybody's very
don't
discouraged.
don't you bank on we had it inspected. There's so many little things that can go on. They probably didn't look at the foundation, and God, you don't want your foundation to go bad. There's so many things that can go wrong with the house, and they're just looking for like the big obvious things that they're, hey, is there any asbestos? What was that?
So we have I looked at the foundation with the inspector.
My point being, Tom, stop trying to like think you're like better and you're smarter and you've already thought of this. My point being is they can't see everything. They won't find everything. There's going to be issues that you're going to come across. So don't.
Well, we have a sump pump that needs work. The radon mitigation system, we got the fan replaced. There's a problem with
You're not getting my point. That's fine. That's whatever. You enjoy yourself. You enjoy the new house.
I know there's going to be issues.
That was the only point.
We saved ourselves $100,000 by buying a house with issues, because there's a lot of flipping right now. We were under contract for one house that we had to pull out of, like, badly, because I had a friend look at the house with me and he's like, "You're not buying this, are you?" I'm like, "No, we put an offer down. Why?"
We have a common friend that recently bought a house a year or so ago, and they went through that process, I think 15 times, putting offers in and not getting the house.
Well, that's got to be frustrating.
But he's a how do you put it? Very anal about numbers. So he showed me his spreadsheets that he had, like the initial asking, their offer, what it went for, what the final price was, and like analyzing all the numbers. And finally got to the point where, like, okay, so we're going to have to go in at this price point, and like, here's our max that we're going to. And
so just looking for like the patterns. Yeah.
It was interesting.
It's
for sure.
It's crazy how much people get into. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm done buying houses. I honestly don't ever want to go through it again. I've only done it twice, and that was, in my opinion, once too many times. I would have been happy just doing it one time. I suppose if you have the money, and it's probably easier, but the second house was definitely easier than the first house, but only because we were getting so much more for the first house than what the second house was costing us. So that helped out a lot. But yeah, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy moving either.
My first house was, it was in this up and coming area, and this could be a great place to buy. And you actually got to build the house, right? They had the cookie cutter plans, but you got to pick everything. So we got to watch our house be built, and go take pictures.
That would have been fun. Yeah,
it was a blast. Except the whole time, her parents, I mean, we were young, right? We weren't even married yet, and her parents were like, "You're not going to want to live this far away from like Daytona Beach." You're like, it's fine. It's only 30 minutes. Meanwhile, shortly after moving in, my job moved me from Daytona to Orlando, so that 30 minutes became an hour and a half drive.
Yikes.
It was like, all right, I guess we're selling. So we own that house not very long. But I've been going to the property appraiser to see what it's selling for. and it hasn't appreciated like you would have thought in 23 years.
I mean, don't lie. You got to kind of feel good about that, right? It's like, yeah, I got what that what anybody's gonna get for that house. So
yeah.
So Tom, does this mean you're moving during a Colorado winter?
The weather looks good.
Again, just say yes. Yes, we're moving in February, Eric. Yes, we're moving in March. What's the plan there?
So my wife's dog.
Wives? You have wives?
Dog friends got very upset when she said she was looking at how much it would cost to move, and said, "Hey, the 6 of us big young guys will move your house." So we're just paying for beer and pizza.
Okay, when are you moving, Tom? It's back to that question. Is it going to be in February?
Yeah, February 12th.
February 12th. Okay, thank you. All right.
Yeah. You got to see this yard, though. It's nuts.
Oh,
it's
you sent it to
third of
me,
an
yeah. Pulled it up on
so
Zillow.
crazy. No, I sent you guys the link once. I almost sent it to the Discord channel.
Yeah. No, I'm saying you sent us whatever you sent us had the address, and I pulled it up on Zillow. Or did you send us a Zillow link? I forget.
He
I
sent
sent you
the
the
Zillow.
link.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I go to Zillow all the time. I mean, you get way too much information of things on Zillow.
Well, I saw how much I was paying for this, and I was like, I wonder how much a 1-bedroom would cost just for a single fella.
Mm-hmm.
This place is great. It's just fucking enormous. Oh, and it's got all these Christian quotes on the walls.
Yeah. I mean, both my kids rent. And in my little fantasy head, I would love to be able to like buy additional property that they can live in their respective areas. Like it's like Monopoly in real life. You know, you just buy the property, let it get to be more money, and
well, my daughter's in San Diego right now with her boyfriend, who she's pretty sure she's gonna marry. Different story.
Okay.
And she's like, I want to live in San Diego. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I told
you don't ever get to live in San Diego.
We were really close to moving out of California altogether. And Beck,
it's great here.
Okay, let me finish my conversation. Beck was like, you know, if we don't like it, we can always move back. I'm like, nope, that's not going to be an option. It's like, you don't move back to California. You will never be able to afford to move back to California. Sure, we can move out of California. That's easy. That's the easy part. But if you decide, no, I want to move back to where my kids live, that's a lot more difficult.
PHP Tech is going to have to be a TV show before we do that.
That we've sold for millions of dollars.
Yeah. Netflix.com/PHP Tech. When that's a URL, we can move back to San Diego.
Oh man. Oh, look at that. Sleepover. I told you my wife's not coming home. My wife's not coming home.
I mean,
This was the plan all along.
As a fellow Rebecca Haver, that's what they do. They're just gone.
You know what? If they're going to do that, they could have at least taken the dog with them. God damn it. This is unfair. This is cruel and unusual punishment.
There is not a chance in hell that my wife would go to San Diego without the dog. I am covered. I've got
that's what I was going to say. What I'm sure you know this, and we've talked about it in the past. What people are paying for rent here in Southern California, San Diego, or even where I live, like even where I live, rent is more. Seems like it's just as much or more expensive than my house payment. And so the whole thing with owning a house is coming up with the down payment, because if you can get that, then it'll be like the same price as renting.
Which
Of course,
in
you have
Col-
the
in
additional,
Colorado-
huh?
in Colorado, I just barely missed the income for a $15,000 grant for my down payment. Like, if it had been 6 months ago, I would have made the cutoff for just a grant, just $15,000 free money as a down payment.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I'm
My
very
wife
lucky.
is making Skittle popcorn. My wife makes this thing called Skittle popcorn that if the laws weren't so strict as far as selling food like on Etsy or something, we'd make a killing. People, this is like
You'd kill
crack
people for
on
sure.
corn. Huh?
You would kill people for sure. That looks
No.
horrendous.
This is crack on popcorn. The Skittle popcorn she makes. I've stopped eating it. I love Skittles.
I have the
And
same
I've
measuring
stopped
cup.
eating it because you can't stop eating it. Like I can't have like one or two handfuls. I just don't eat it anymore at all. I just like when she makes it, I'm like, I'm not eating any of this. Leave me alone.
I have the same measuring cups. Oh, and I see a packet of Red Hots.
That's the new thing. She started doing that a couple years ago. She started doing a red hot version of it. It is really good. It's very creative too. Like I've never seen it. I've never seen anybody else do what she's doing and how she does it. It's super creative, and I wish we could share it with more people. She always gives it. Like she used to take it down to the firehouse when we lived in
TikTok.
Poway. Like
I'm not TikTok.
people. No, I'm not trying to sell like was it pink sauce or whatever it's called. It's like that's what I'm talking about, man. You
Also toxic.
you put it on TikTok and people realize you're breaking the law and they call the police on you. They call the popo.
My wife makes the greatest illegal things. You have no idea.
That's very much it.
You guys,
It violates several Catholic standards.
you made me go look at that house I was talking about. The current estimate is 240,000.
What? Wait, what? I mean,
That's-
240,000. This is in Florida. This is not like
Yeah.
in the middle of the U.S.
No, it's Florida, and I think we paid 100,000 for it back in '99 when we had it built.
240,000.
And
How's
so it has
only
not.
doing for?
I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not. It's.
well, you
I mean-
saw what I
It's 30 minutes from Daytona Beach. You told us that. Come on.
you saw what I
Go
paid
30
for-
minutes from any beach in San Diego and see if you can find anything for $200,000. It's not possible.
You saw what I paid for this place. So I paid 405 with 4 points on closing. So I paid under
You
400.
paid for points.
No, the seller paid 4
Yeah.
points. So the seller paid 13,000 to close. I offered 5,000 under asking, but the appraisal came in at 30,000 over asking.
I want to check out my current house. Zillow has my current house has already gone up in value. That is pretty nice to see. From what I paid for it, no less. So it has what I paid for it, and shows the value to be slightly higher. Not a ton. It looks like about 60,000 more. But well, we've only been here for a year, so.
So we're actually knocking a bedroom out of this house. The guest room and the master bedroom, we're merging into one room. We're doing a lot of remodeling on this house.
Yeah, I paid 91,000 back in. Wow, it says 2001. I could have sworn it was 99.
1,000? God.
Oh my God! Speaking of which,
It's 2001.
fucking we talked about AI. I should have brought this up. Fucking Alexa is pissing me right the hell off. I asked Alexa today. I'm like, "Hey Alexa, play some classic rock." She's like, sure, playing 80s rock. I'm like, fuck you, Alexa. 80s rock is not classic rock. Fuck you.
And that's what killed
God
Garfunkel.
damn it. Calling the 80s classic.
You asked for classic rock, and Garfunkel died.
I ask for it all the time, and I always get, here's a station you might like, classic rock, and that's it.
Have you seen the Doom and Gloom channel validating my endless microwave debate?
No.
Some university.
It says it's not the microwave, Tom. They're not validating your microwave
No.
debate.
Microwave is more specific. Microwave radiation is actually better resolution.
Okay. I don't know why I think I can have a good conversation. You know, that whole speech I just gave at the end of the podcast, find common ground. There's no common ground with you, Tom.
The moment we go off air, you need to remind me of the microwave thing. Also, I need to know if the sock actually worked.
It made it really hard to hear you. I can't tell you if it worked in the breathing until I edit the podcast, because we don't hear it. We don't hear it when we're doing this live. It's only when I do the audio podcast. I don't know if anybody's in Discord. Does anybody hear breathing? Like, maybe not today, but in the past, have you heard us breathing in the mic? But
and it is an actual sock. Like, it's not a wind sock. It's a foot sock.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know after I edit the podcast and listen to it.
I'll buy a windsock or a pop filter if that helps.
I mean, it won't hurt. You should probably do it, because that sock makes it. You sound a little muffled.
We're really tight on money right now.
I will buy you a pop fade.
No,
just let me know what mic you have.
You don't even know my address. Shit, I already sent it to you.
Just let me know what mic you have. I bought your mic, didn't I? I can just look up what mic you have. Yeah.
I am so excited about my new desk setup. I'm replacing this literal 20-year-old desk with a new desk where I can have a ring light and like a mounted webcam, so it's not on my monitors and doesn't do this. And the new office is going to be so sweet. I've got this thing I want to build. It's a Raspberry Pi driven AI art digital frame. Here, I got to send it to you guys. I'll put it in the Discord.
You can buy those things
That's
for
not
like
the Discord.
$20 now, right?
No. This thing is specific to the new AI stuff. It's an e-ink display. Never needs charging. It's got a little solar panel on the back of it, and it comes up with an AI-generated artwork every time.
Solar panels don't work when it's inside, Tom.
Yeah, they do.
Do you have UV rays inside your house?
I live a very unhealthy lifestyle.
I can't win with this guy. I cannot win with him.
No, it's the Raspberry Pi has a top hat called a power shield, where you can run a little solar panel to your window. But like, you fill it up with AI prompts, and on a cron script it runs and says, "Here's your AI generated art with your prompt." And it costs 1 cent per day to like generate a new random image.
Yeah. I've thought about doing the magic mirror with my Pi. I think that would be kind of cool. I have some extra monitors laying around, but
what's the magic mirror?
Just for that.
It's pretty simple, actually. You just buy a picture frame, like a box frame, I think they call it. You know what I'm talking about, where it had like the big frame. You get a little tint, some light tint, and you put it over it, and then you get a monitor, and you attach it to the back, and you get your there's actually a project called Magic Mirror for the Pi that you put in, and then you can have it do things like your calendar or your clock or something, and it just shines through. It's really pretty cool. I mean, it seems pretty simple to do.
So the Magic Mirror like project is just a screen that you can configure to show weather and news articles and stuff like that, and you just never wake it. And it's bright enough to shine through the tint so that you can see, like in your mirror, you can see.
Well, that's not the Magic Mirror project. That's the monitor you use. Yes, but yes, that's how it works. You just put a monitor on the back of a lightly tinted frame, and you add this Magic Mirror project to your Pi, and it just works.
I'll have to check that out. Curious.
It would be a fun project for you and the boys to do, John, I think.
Yeah, you just need an old monitor.
Mm-hmm. Which we have.
1080.
We have monitors in the storage unit.
I didn't get into this on the podcast. I want to just get it out while we're still on air.
I would say we're still streaming, just so you know.
Yeah. My Facebook feed in the 1 month period has gone from like random gadgets and like knives and airsoft guns and tech hardware to like home repair, where they're hey, here's a saw you can get and a book that's $20, and here's like things. And then it's getting more expensive every day, though. The ads are starting to like advertise, hey, we noticed you gave up on fixing up your own house. Are you thinking about buying a $20,000 entertainment center? I'm like, no, I am not.
Well, I mean, okay. I don't know. Yeah, John?
Kevin, you're asking, what's the PCI compliance issue that you're worried about?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that to your attention. I mean, I'm sure we can do something if they really want to use PayPal, but it would be a little bit of a workaround. But we could do something if that's how you insist on doing it. But I don't know what the PCI compliance thing is.
So PCI compliance is related to the storage, the long-term storage of credit card
right,
data.
But this is all being handled by a service. So
right.
And it's going through Stripe.
There's no PCI compliance concerns whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right. I can say that like right up front.
Not on our end anyway.
So I don't know if you remember the story, Tom, but a few years back, Beck and I were up in Vancouver, and with just doing a little vacation, visiting some friends, and we're walking along the shoreline, and there are all these boat homes, houseboats,
Yeah, houseboats
that people live in full time. Like they're not just like. And Beck's like, "Wow, that would be a cool way to live in a houseboat. I wonder what those go for." I'm like, I don't. That was all the conversation we had. We talked about it for like 15 minutes.
This.
Yeah, and it started showing up on our Facebook feed. Freaks me the hell out, man. I think I stopped using Facebook that day.
Well, so I have a surprise for my wife, and I'm curious to see how this plays out on Facebook, because it's a total surprise to her. I've looked it up on my computer.
You know, it won't be a surprise if she listens to the show, right?
She doesn't. Don't worry.
Okay.
I don't listen either. When we looked at the yard, she was like, I want to have bees. I want to have a beehive. And it turns out that that's actually a big thing in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And the new queen bees come in March.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to buy her a full beehive setup with a half a hive and a new queen bee.
Does she know how to do this? Is this something she's done in the past?
It's very easy, and I have lots of literature.
I'm not even going to challenge you on it, Tom. I know that never works out for me.
No, I am in contact with the owner of the Colorado Springs Beekeepers Association to do this right, and that he knows that I'm surprising her with this. But I'm waiting to see when like bee stuff shows up in her Facebook feed, because it's going to be a complete surprise to her. Her accounts are not on the computers I've been using to look this stuff up. And I haven't said anything in the house until right now about beekeeping.
It's going to be in your feed here in about 15 minutes.
So 2 days ago is when I started looking this stuff up. Nothing showed up. I can almost bet that after this conversation and me saying bees a lot, it's going to start showing up in her Facebook feed.
You know, funny story, kind of related along those same lines, is that was when I realized my kids wouldn't always be children. They had a friend who did rescued bees, like swarms. Like if you had a swarm at your house,
Yeah.
they would go rescue, and this is what they did. And it's like, wow, you're like that's like not like
You're
a
a real
small
person.
thing. I know, and I realized, and this was a friend of the kids, the same age as the kids at the time. I don't know if they've changed ages since then, but I assume they're still the same age. And I was just like, I just was blown away. And then I looked at my kids. I'm like, what are you doing with your life? This one's rescuing bees. What are you doing?
No, I had a funny conversation with my son a couple days ago where he was like, there's so much drama in our friend group, and I just want out of it. And I was like, that's good for you, man. You're the older brother, so of course you're gonna get tired of it before they do. But he's only their older brother by like 10 months. It's like, it's a little disingenuous, but that period between 19 and 20, like the craziest shit happens. You're like, yeah, you're being more adult. That's a weird place to be, but you are.
Okay, I'm going to wrap up the stream unless you guys have anything else you want to discuss and share with the.
I'm on board.
You good, John?
I'm good.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.